MedBix Webcast is a new kind of healthcare media channel to break the silo mentality and foster interdisciplinary thinking. Our mission is to fill that gap and to create a curiosity through different lenses, tapping the passion that guided the historical figures in medicine and bringing present-day groundbreaking research to the front lines. We interview physicians and leaders in the industry about present-day healthcare challenges on our live programming. Hey, welcome to the MedBix Webcast. This is Ramana Annamraju. I'm the host of the MedBix Webcast. I know unfortunately, we have some scheduling conflicts. The guest that's supposed to be actually misunderstanding, I think, confusion. When you're booking a guest, sometimes I thought I was under the different impression. He's under the different impression. Sorry, Mr. Andrew Smith. I love to have him in the future. I love to. So he's not going to be there today, but we're going to talk everything else today. So what we're going to talk about it. I tell you what I'm doing, and I went to Nepalese Film Festival. I went to Nepalese actors. The Buddha is from India. He was born in Rajasthan near Gaya and all those places. It's not that far from Nepal. So he lived up to 80 years, but Lord Buddha was living, the Buddha actually was a king. So one day he saw the suffering, and, he was 16-year-old, and he went outside of his fortress. He was a silver spoon-fed king, prince. One day he ventured outside and he saw people suffering, people going through a lot of pains, dead body he saw. So he changed his mind, and he thought about it. What is this cause of suffering? So he went on a global wandering. He went on a global trip, an entire world, and the entire world means at that time. This is a 4 centuries BC. So he was not. So he spent a lot of time in Nepal. To be honest with you, 80% of his lifetime he spent in Nepal. Nepal is a part of India. It's kind of thing. It's not that far. Is geographically, home of the Mount Everest. So Nepalese culture, they look Asian, but they're all most of the Asian with very lot of cultures there. So what is happening? LinkedIn live, because the reason is cancel guest or I cancel the guest confusion. So you have to watch on YouTube live. So I posted YouTube live on LinkedIn. You can watch this show live because I don't have a guest, just talking normal stuff. So I went to see one of my best friends. She's one of the good friends of mine. Sunil Thapa is a legendary actor. Priyanka, he was he was one of the guys that I met a lot of actors from Nepal. Sunil Thapa. The other ones I don't know. Shasta, they call him, is also famous in Pakistan, I heard. And then Sanjay Katwala, I think. So I met all these three gentlemen. He's upcoming actor, Sanjay. We had a lot of good time. Then this last weekend, I went to Ismati Mountains. I was supposed to go to Atlanta, between Atlanta and, Ismati Mountains, Ismati. So I decided to go. If I go to Atlanta, the kids have no time. They see me 30 minutes, and you fly all the way and come back all the way. It's just exhausting. So I decided to go to the The reason is one of the things I can tell you visual perception is funny. So when you see Yosemite mountains from with your own naked eye, it's very different than pictures, and you see that the the mountains, the photos cannot capture the enormity of the mountains. There is no way you can capture, even if it is 3D or it is possible to capture that enormity of the mountains. That you see, you don't feel it, but it's definitely something that is interesting. So I'm going to present a topic today. It's close to my heart, where I come from. How the medicine worked in the southern India. I came from a small village in India. It's called the state of Andhra Pradesh. I am a coastal. I'm like 10 miles away from the seabed, seashore. It's a Bay of Bengal. I'm 10 miles away from the Bay of Bengal. I grew up there. I learned physics. I have eccentric physics teachers. So I went to school in is the name of the town called Bhimavaram. It's a town, but the village I grew up is like a small town itself is small, and the village is much smaller. It's a 5 miles away from there. It's like 5 10 miles. 5 miles away from Bhimavaram is called Palakoderu. I grew up in the small town, small village, remote village, 2,000 population. There was no running water. There is no electricity. There are no non-existing healthcare. My father was a teacher in high school. He was English teacher. So he learned self-taught medicine because there is no doctors there. He was reading a lot of books in English. So a lot of medical books are from English in English because we are still at that time. My father was doing that during the time. His time is still British was ruling India. So he was reading these books. My grandfather, one of the grandfather cousin, was practicing doctor in a few miles away from there. He was also like a PA, practitioner, physician, medical practitioner. They're not MDs like what you're seeing here. But my father was a vivacious reader. I honestly tell you, he can beat any MD. He was reading nonstop. He can read magazines and journals. He's just a vivacious reader. His curiosity is unbounded, in my view. Curiosity makes a difference. So I'm going to talk about the healthcare in the small village, how it how it came out to be in a small village, how that healthcare. I was um, um I have four brothers, three brothers, total four. We are brothers and two sisters. Unfortunately, one brother, one sister passed away. It is a sad story. Um, brother lived a full life, and my sister passed away in unexpected way, the cancer. So it is a story of a small family, a big family with a small village, and how the healthcare works, how the minds, how India became powerful. One of the reasons is we are examples of that. How we passionately took education as a main enterprise. Is not an enterprise at the time. It is we took it as is an important for survival. That's the only way. Knowledge is the only way to survive in a small village like that. So my father became he's a teacher and a doctor in small village. He was doing holistic medicine. He was doing injections, antibody, penicillin injections at the time. He was doing small. Then he was also practicing. He was doing Ayurveda a little bit, homeopathy, and I combined all of them together a little bit. But he practiced quite a bit of medicine, chronic diseases. He was trying to treat through the Ayurveda, but the and homeopathy. But he was doing a mostly English medicine to treat the basic infections and pains, something like that. So I was born village in India. Is 10 miles from a seashore. So a lot of trees, a lot of palm trees, and beautiful picturesque place. A lot of rice paddies, rice fields, and then river, small canals and river, small streams. All these things are interesting. Okay, but let me talk about the healthcare. I'm going to talk about a little bit about healthcare. Let me bring that information. So I don't have a guest. Tomorrow I have excellent guest, Amriti Borad. Amriti Borad. She's going to be our guest. She is actually teaches the, coaches the students, medical students going through their rough times in their career, in their studies. So it's psychological support and other support, logistical psychological support. We talk with her tomorrow about that. But let me talk about the healthcare in a small village in India in 1950s and 60s and 70s, 80s even. Okay, even now it's not much different. It went on a little bit. I'm going to talk about two silent heroes, silent and forgotten heroes of the. These are the real doctors that they really sacrificed their lives, passionate about their profession, and sacrificed their lives for medicine. We these are unsung heroes of medicine. I call them both from same town. No, yeah, they wanted to serve people. Let me. You can see me. Okay. Talk about the village. Don't tell. Okay. My village is my village is 60s, 70s. I can tell you, no electricity, no running water. That is a village that I grew up. But beautiful place. That is the biggest house in the town. The transportation of bullock carts. There's no cars. We used to chase cars at the time. You know. So agriculture economy it is. Basically we do agriculture. The tractors we have a tractors we used to get a tractors from Russia. So that's only Russian influence is there, and most of the agriculture is done through the plowing by bulls. So it's a very village. You have to go through that road. There's not much of a transportation. But the deaths and tropical diseases are very common. Usual suspects. Typhoid is one of the things I went through. I went through all of them. I think typhus, malaria, cholera, celiac lung diseases. These are all common diseases in the tropical countries, tropical areas. Tropic diseases. These are all bacteria and parasites. The typhus is a bacteria, and malaria, and these are all the parasite-borne diseases. Malaria, cholera, and these are all infectious diseases. So not much of a the luckiest will survive. We have a lot of the deaths are not due to the other bites. We used to have a lot of cobra bites. Cobra in the field, in the rice fields. Cobras are big, and you can watch. The snake charmers are real. They use as a professionally. I used to go see them all the times, watching them that close. You don't even know what it is. Suicides are very rare, extremely rare. But I saw one suicide when I was going. One of the classmates, he drank that Indian is called, is a pesticide. He drank it and died within 2 days, 48 hours. He died. So it's a sad story, but it's not a much of a suicide problem. It's a cobra bus is a bigger problem. That's what in my village. It's all dirt roads, all the mud. So the healthcare delivery system is interesting. So the people are the pregnant women they deliver babies but through midwives. They deliver at home. They don't go to there is no hospitals there. So most of them were born, all my brothers and me, and we were born at home by through midwives. Great to salute all of the midwives around the world. They do a great job. Actually, they are the saviors of the woman in the world. In fact, we don't pay enough respect to the midwives. Still, they are the source of delivering babies around the world. So we have to make it really big to them. The next one is that healthcare in rural villages is a healthcare delivery thing. My father used to have a bike, regular bicycle. So he used to go to the houses and see them, like that huts, the small places. Most of them are huts. My father used to go. I remember as a kid that I used to go with him sometimes. He has a bag. That's all. Most of them are fevers, typhoid, this kind of things, is basic stuff. We don't know chronic diseases, maybe existing, but we don't know yet because also people talk. We don't have this modern lifestyle. There may not be that many chronic diseases, but we don't know. The statistics are not there. So my father used to go and see these patients in the village in their homes. So my father's name is Dr. Subbarao Anamraju. He is a very like India, particularly southern India. They call bicycle doctors. They do. So one actually, to be honest with you, they are the real heroes of the medicine. They, they do diagnosis and they check the prognosis. You know, maybe mother has a different problem, father has a different problem, children has a different problem. So all three at the same time. Diagnosis and prognosis and treatment and prognosis, all of them we check at the same time. Excellent delivery. That is a point of care system. I call that is a real point of care system. We have a very many fashionable names, and we don't. It's like a complex. My father used to say when somebody complex, that's what is in healthcare system. The complex because it is getting the money from the public. That's all it is. Sad. It's a fantastic story. They are American healthcare. So you see, American system is not just healthcare system by itself. It's going to take if you don't. Everybody's trying to avoid it. Become leaders. You need a leader about that later on. This is the healthcare delivery system in the villages. Both diagnosis, prognosis, and treatment, all of them at the same time you can do. They did. It was a surprising after all this. Why is why doing it, guys? Just a minute. It is not. So my father, I'm going to talk about why it is. So that is the healthcare delivery system was an excellent even for a small village. That's a modern concept that we are from India probably. How do they get paid in India? The small rural villages, how they get paid. Reimbursement structure is concierge medicine is fully. Tomorrow we're going to talk about the concierge medicine physician. Concierge medicine is the way they do that in small rural the United States too. I hear. So they drop the vegetables. We are not meat eaters, so they drop the vegetables. No insurance. My father, my mother used to do functions a year, functions in the season. They provide some gift. They give gold, all kinds of things. He used to drop it off, and that is the reimbursement structure in the. It's very interesting. They do that one payment, two payments in the entire year when the crops come out. It's really interesting, right? So they used to give a gold and silver and cash, vegetables, milk, whatever he can. That is the cheer medicine at the best. uh, so the next one is the my father is a teacher and a doctor. He was my mother. I don't want to take away anything credit from my mother. My mother is a great supporter, and she took care of. My father was spending all his money as a teaching job on medicine. Half of his money going to the journals. My mother used to complain about that. Think about that. Their passion and curiosity and passion and serve, trying to passion to serve people. It's an extraordinary. It has to be inside. Without no money, my father was doing that. He was a teacher, doctor extraordinary in my view. Though he's my father, I have to pay tribute to him. My mother is known as she put up with all of this shortcomings of the lack of and raising six children with a meager salaries, and she did extraordinary. She was both passed away. My I think something went wrong, guys. I am trying to. Sorry about that. I don't know. The internet is acting up. So I was doing a. It's not moving. Is something wrong? The you know. Uh, let me tell you something about it. It's everybody says AI is going to take over the world. We can't even internet. I'm in the center of Silicon Valley. Our internet is funny. This is a funny story goes on. I don't know what's going on. Okay, anyway, I'm going to talk about I'm going to talk about my the Dr. Subrao is another doctor. Uh, I'm going to talk about another doctor with the same name as my father. His name is, you know, the start, the stream was all of a sudden. I don't know what went on. It's a funny. We have a new fastest internet, but still, it was frozen and disconnected. I need to check. It is going to be tomorrow. Is going to be good. Don't worry about it. But anyway, I'm going to talk about another this doctor story of doctor. Um, so another gentleman joined with me. His name is Dr. Ross Geddes. Is a Rastafa Geddes. He is a neuroscientist. He's from my hometown, Atlanta, Georgia. So we're going to he's going to listen to that, and then we can talk about it a little bit later on about a few minutes. So that going on here. Okay. I spoke about my father, and I'm hold on, hold on. You need to put a mute on the microphone, Dr. Geddes. You got to put a mute on. Okay. This is another story of my father. My father. I told you a story of my father. His name is also same as my father. We are that was. Let me talk about him a little bit. Is a If you know about him, you will be surprised. You don't know anything about him, it's still surprised to you. He's a first chemotherapy drug. He discovered first. He invented a first chemotherapy drug for leukemia. First broad spectrum antibiotic. He discovered. He discovered first broad spectrum antibiotic, tetracycline. First strip test. He started a strip test. Actually, he invented. First tropical disease drugs. All his drugs even now today in 90 he was born in, I tell you, when he's 1880s he was born, but his drugs are still listed in the World Health Organization essential list. Surprising surprise. His name is Dr. Ella Pragada Subba. He was born in 12th of January in 1895. 1895, my village. He has the same name as my father, belongs to the same tribe, same thing, same village. But even he is older than my father. So we were born in a small the village. I tell you, village is the town around that village is Samarama. It's called Bhimavaram. It is the Lord Shiva was the god of Indian Hindu mythology. Hindu Shastra, the Lord Shiva is a very well-known god of Hindus, a part of the Trinity, Brahma, Vishnu, Maheshwar. Maheshwar is Ishwar. He had the five houses in the he has the five houses in India. One of the houses is my hometown. You know, the Lord Shiva had the five houses. It's mythological houses. He didn't come to South, but this is a house of worship. Is one of the my town is Samarama came from our name. Bhimavaram came from the name of the Samarama, the house of the Lord Shiva. That's what it is. Kailash is Nepal. I met my friends today, Nepalese friends. They are, it, is actually, Lord Shiva was from Nepal. He was doing in the Kailash mountains. He was hanging around. It's part of the Nepal. So he failed high school. Dr. Subbarao failed high school, got married at the age of 15. You know, he was hardly, that is a very common thing at the time, including my father's age. That's all. They used to get married by 18. They're all married, started having a kids. So child marriage, basically. His father-in-law worried about his profession. He failed high school, so eventually he passed high school, and then he gave him enough money to go to medical school in Chennai. It's like 300 miles away from my hometown. So he went to that was a part of the Chennai was a part of the Andhra Pradesh, one state. Now we have three different states, but at that time it's only one state, Madras, Tamil Nadu. It's now Tamil Nadu. He went to school there, medical college, Madras Medical College. He studied anatomy, physiology, all those things. He studied at that time. Queen Elizabeth was the queen. I think she was just beginning. So that was the days. All the instructions are in English because we are ruled by British people, even though they spoke different regions of India, but English is a common language. Then he started working in Ayurveda College, Adayar. I used to go there, hang around at Adayar. Is Ayurveda College. He was a teacher because he could not he did not practice. He became a faculty member at Adayar in Ayurveda College, which is a Ayurveda is a medicine based on aspect of it. We can talk about it some other time about that. He became a professor or a teacher there in that college. Then he applied to Harvard directly. 100 years ago, he applied Harvard Medical School. Can you believe that? 1923. He applied to the Harvard Medical School, and with a little bit back and forth things, he didn't go to. Most of the people used to go to England at the time, but he didn't go to England. He wanted to go to United States, America. He wanted to come to America. His ambitions are wonderful. So he came to Harvard in 1923. So by ship, most likely he came by ship. So he studied a tropical medicine degree. Guy became a doctor of the tropical medicine because the people thought that he goes back and in a lot of tropical diseases there. So he studied medical doctor 1923. Studied in the Harvard Medical School. Probably is one of the first Indians. So he did a PhD also in biochemistry. Then he became a faculty member in Harvard. Can you believe that? They hired him as a faculty member in Harvard in 1920s, 30s. So he was discriminated at the time, openly discriminated. His papers were stolen, all his inventions were stolen. He's denied tenure. So he was already invented a few things. I will tell you what they invented at the time, what he invented. So he moved to another laboratory as a medical director. Ladderly Labs. Ladderly Labs is a Pearl River, New York, hired him as a director. He was already famous, I tell you, because the strip test, he invented the strip test. So that's why he's already well known. So they hired him as a medical director, Ladderly Labs, a small boutique pharmaceutical company in Pearl River, New York. Moved from Harvard, said goodbye to the Harvard because they didn't get the tenure. He went on to, but his hidden talent, nobody can stop. He's extraordinarily smart. Or, his hidden talents came out after failing high school. He invented during the Harvard stint itself, he invented the phosphate strip color test. You know, a strip we can do, the first mineral in the body is a calcium. The second mineral is a phosphorus. You know, diabetes and alcoholics have a deficiency of the phosphor. So, at the time they were drinking, everybody was 1940s, you know, prohibition times, I think. So they were drinking and everywhere in the world. So you can check the phosphorus deficiency through the strip test he invented, while he was at Harvard. But his papers were documented fact. His papers were stolen. They did not publish it until they found it later. His papers were found. They were found later on. So he was the invention one is a phosphorus test. That is, he invented 4 inventions he did. He deserves a Nobel Prize. Then there's no other person, doctor, deserve this. No other can deserve more than him. Is the Nobel Prize, Dr. Yellappa Subbrao. His second invention is the heterogen tablets. These are the still part of the World Health Organization essential list of drugs. Snowflake drugs. Now they're talking about coronavirus treatment, Zika virus, influenza virus. Heterogen can probably cure those diseases. So antithematics, part of the antithematics it is. So he was inventor of the heterogen tablets. He invented heterogen tablets during the Ladderly Labs. At the end of the stint of the Harvard and the Ladderly Labs, the number third, 1940s, the biggest cancer was among the children is a leukemia. Child leukemia is very prevalent, and that is a bigger one among children, among the cancers. So he came with the methotrexate drug. He invented the folic acid. He was working with the Sidney Farber. He is a pathologist. So Dr. Yellappa Subbarao they didn't want to give him as a foreigner. They didn't get his credit. So he was working with Sidney Farber. He's the only crazy guy who would believe foreigners a little bit. To at the time, it's a highly discriminated environment. And Dr. Yellappa Subbarao invented methotrexate. That is a chemotherapy drug, first targeted drug, because the blood is a blood disease, right? Blood cancer. So you cannot surgically remove it. It is diffused across the body. It is not surgically, you cannot remove. You cannot do radiation or any other therapy. Only thing you can do is targeted drug. There is no targeted drug at the time. This is the first targeted chemotherapy drug came in the market, invented by Dr. Yellappa Subbarao. That is, they saved everybody. Then another invention came with a little story behind it. First, broad spectrum antibiotic, tetracycline, automycin. Automycin he invented, he discovered through another doctor. That's a story itself. So Dr. Subbarao was getting is a PhD in chemistry and also a doctor. Remember that. He has the biggest advantage in the both pharmaceutical side. So he hired a guy, a plantation owner's son at the time from Alabama. Think about that, plantation owner's son. Dr. Yellapredda Subbarao hired a plantation owner's son from Alabama. His name is Benjamin Dugar. He hired him as a doctor. He's not a doctor, he's a chemist. He was a chemist at the time, plant doctor. So they went to Missouri and they bought these inventions, the grass. The automycin is a gold color. That's what they said. So they discovered this drug and they want to do clinical trials. Who is going to give a southerner? Both from one is from southern India, dark, and the other one is southern plantation owner. These are in the New Jersey, the literally labs in New York. Who is going to give them any chance at all? They were highly discriminated, both of them are. So what they did was they went to another doctor, Dr. Louis Wright. Dr. Louis Wright is from my home state, Georgia. Is from LaGrange, Georgia. I've been to LaGrange, small place. It's where Jimmy Carter is from, actually. It's not that far from Jimmy Carter's place. So he's from LaGrange, Dr. Louis Wright. That Louis Wright was the Air Force surgeon, actually. He was a surgeon in the Air Force, the Harlem Hospital. It's all the where the African Americans were treated predominantly. Most of them are African Americans, poor and could not able to pay. So they made a deal with these two Southerners, one from United States, from Alabama, the other from Andhra Pradesh, my hometown. They went to Benjamin Dugar, another Southerner, to ask him to do clinical trials. He accepted it, and automation was a biggest hit of all times. It was a clinical trial was runaway success. It is a runaway success. By the time FDA approved, that's I don't know what organization at the time, Lederly Labs was struggling. They became rich through this process. So actually, Lederly Labs became eventually part of the Pfizer now. Okay. So you were wondering what is it? Is the legacy still with the Pfizer now? We will save drugs, the coronavirus drug. But Lederly Labs became a part of the Pfizer, but Dr. Subbarao died before you come to know about the FDA approval of the automation. He died in the sleep. He deserves the 4 Nobel Prizes. 4 of them are extraordinary contributions in medicine. No second thoughts about that. He didn't get. He got none. If there is a discrimination, he was mentioned in the Nobel Prize Committee, and also there was a plaque in the Pfizer labs, in Lederly Labs now Pfizer. But he is an extraordinary man from my hometown, Yellapredda Subbarao, Dr. Subbarao. He deserves 4 Nobel Prizes. Shame to the Nobel Prize Committee sometimes missed him. So, Dr. Yellapredda Subbarao died in the sleep in the age of 53. That is an unknown, unsung hero of medicine, in my view. He had a relationship, one of the relationship, he was married and he was with the church. One preacher was talking about Jesus Christ with him all the times. So he said that Dr. Subbarao said that he was making good money. He was already well known. He said that to the preacher, I would give you the money for two student scholarship to study. Anybody that just wants to study. The preacher went there and built another church with that money. So he wanted to put that investment in education. That guy built another church. But so it was documented. His history was documented through that preacher, New York preacher. Dr. Yellapredda Subbarao was well known at the time. after his death, what is a Jewish? This is the what the Jewish advocates said. The New York Herald Tribune said that they gave him at the time New York Times. I'm not sure. New York Herald Tribune, because they said that one of the most eminent medical minds of the century. That's no understatement at all, in my view. Is one of the New York Herald Tribune says one of the most eminent medical minds of the century, with the given extreme limited number of resources. The way he come from a village, uh, from my village, scientist of the century, drugs and all these things. He saved millions of lives. Jewish advocate wrote, because he lived longer. Simple, straightforward. This is the life of. So, on a personal note, I can say this: my father, both of them have same name. Both of them are from same town. Both of them Subbaraos. They really what the father had nothing. He provided care for people who had nothing. And other Dr. Subbarao, the world, people come and go, but the nobility and remind the noble that is the highest nobility of the people who sacrifice their lives. They are the true doctors of these things. My father was not famous, but served it. Is a really they probably he made a true calling of his nature of the medicine profession. They both of them gave a extraordinary name to profession, medicine. Respected nobility is part of that. Thank you for watching. I'm going to bring a from there. I'm going to bring a Dr. Ross Geddes from Atlanta, Georgia. He is a neuroscientist. He was a very short. What is your background, Dr. Ross Geddes? Can you hear me?
How you doing this evening? Can you hear me?
I can hear you. Give
Yes,
me
can you
your
hear me? Is
background
the
a little
audio
bit
good?
quick. Yeah, are you okay?
Yes. Okay, good evening. So I'm Dr. Geddes. I'm Jamaican made and American raised. I was born in Spring Gardens, St. Thomas, Jamaica. I grew up in New York City between the Harlem and the Bronx, and I went to Binghamton University as an equal opportunity program student and became a McNair scholar as an undergrad and got into research looking at heat shock proteins and seizures. And then I went on to Penn State Hershey Medical Center, where I actually studied perinatal hypoxia ischemia. And then from there, I went on to Emory University, looking at traumatic brain injury and the role of reproductive hormones. And I went from there to the University of Wisconsin in Madison, looking at the same thing in older age, so in senescence. And after working in the University of Wisconsin, I'm back in Atlanta, Georgia now. And yeah, I'm back here doing some STEM education and trying to give back to the community. And yeah, so what would you like to talk about this evening?
Yeah. So you see that the with the employment opportunity at the time for the your name is Rastafa Geddes, so you don't have to tell you're from Jamaica. It's Rastafarian Jamaican tradition there. Uh, yeah, but
Yes.
but I tell you something that the struggles people go through to be educated, like my father and the other gentleman, another Dr. Subrao, in the South, particularly African Americans went through. In this country, people who studied really, you have to pay tribute. It's not easy to. I lived in Atlanta. A lot of Southern. I'm a Southerner. My hometown. I always consider my second home is always Atlanta. I was born in India, but my home is always Atlanta. I really connected with a lot of Southerners. The way, particularly African Americans. I am connected with all races. I have friends in every race. But the struggles the blacks went through in South, it's extraordinary. And then getting education, survived that part. And getting education is one of the tribute to those individuals. For example, Louis Wright. Dr. Louis Wright is from our state of Georgia. And he became a surgeon. He became chief of surgery at the Harlem Hospital, and yeah, Air Force surgeon. So these people went through really all the hardships and the systemic discrimination. And my father during the British times, and Dr. Subbarao in America, and the people in South went through a lot of discriminations, and they survived. This is a tribute to people who do these things. I'm really thankful for the opportunity and exposure that I had from all the black community in Atlanta area. I have a mixed race children. I experienced through them. So fortunately, they are that they went through. They did not go through this. That's like that previous generations did. But it's an extraordinary. My ex-wife she's from a very plantation village in South Carolina. So I've experienced everything from from the bottom up, and I saw the richness, and I interacted with the politicians, I interacted with the doctors, and interacted with a lot of people from the plantation towns, plantation places. I got married in plantation, in fact. So it is an extraordinary journey that I
So,
had. My life is full. Go ahead.
it's interesting that education. So, what being exposed to education and higher education that allows you to get into a lot of different circles where you actually get to interact with a lot of different people. So that's a really good thing. And you know that in America, through the civil rights war, like through the Civil War and everything, there was a migration to the north, right? Because the opportunities were there in the north, and actually that's why we have, in Atlanta, Georgia, or just in Georgia, there are 12 HBCU, historically black college and universities, right? Because there was a need to have a change from that extreme racism. So it's ingrained into the history of the country, but you can see that there's been a lot of changes and things that people have tried to do to make up for some of that, and the HBCUs are a reflection of that. And we have 12 of them here in Georgia.
Oh, I didn't know that. There are 12 of them. So it's a good news. Particularly, I know Morehouse School of Medicine, and is a big fan, very well known school. And then, the Clark and Morehouse School, regular school. So everybody knows that that you know you probably did not experience, your parents did not experience in Jamaica. As much. Jamaica is a very interesting place. People didn't know that it's a very racially mixed society, right? Is the people think all black. There's a lot of blacks, a lot of Chinese, a lot of Indians, all kinds of mix up there in Jamaica. Is that right?
Yes, there is a mix, right? A lot of mix of people there in Jamaica, but we still do experience racism because there is a difference in shade. So the lighter individuals, just like in America, as the lighter your shade is, that's the more benefits that you get. So growing up like that, I come from Spring Garden, which is near the mountain. It's the bush area, right? Right. And so in Jamaica, what it really is the poverty. And so if you don't have money in your family, good luck getting past the fourth and fifth grade. You have to go out and start working by those ages with your parents and with your family to make money. And normally it's rural work that you do out in the actual environment where you're doing plantation kind of work. So harvesting like bananas and coconuts and different things like that. So you're harvesting from the land, and that's how you make your money as
You're
opposed
breaking up, but
to
I tell
education.
you know, you're breaking up. That things is that, uh, you know, people like you, and I know Dr. Wayne Kong is a friend of mine, and all this. This is a still I must have stone away, stone throw away from the United States. They did not pass that education to these people. It's only I can feel that is hasty. Even the Latin countries did not get the benefit of United States education to this India and China, because they're already this is a different continent. They're for less price. I think that's one of the reasons. But it's all going good. People realize it, and people are doing good. Let us talk about positive things. Everything is positive, and people are, you know, we have to think positive. And then there's a lot of things going on, and then we can expand our knowledge base big way. Thank you for all watching. Good night, all of you. And then I will talk with you later, guys. Tomorrow we are going to have a great podcast with the Dr. Amriti Bod. She's sorry, Borad, Dr. Borad, Dr. Amriti Borad. I think I say it right. I hope I did not mess it up. So she's going to be, she has, she teaches and coaches for the people. She's a doctor. She's a family practitioner there, but in San Diego. But she teaches, she guides, and she provides the guidance to a lot of medical students who are going through a crisis. Thank you for all watching. So that thank you all. Watch this thing.
We are retelling their stories through our patented designs that can be worn on scrubs, t-shirts, printed on conference bags, and endless other promotional materials. Daily Wear for Medicine is the first ever of its kind to create curiosity in medicine through visual art. We at MedBricks are celebrating unsung heroes of the past who made enormous contributions to the field of medicine through our unique campaign called Daily Wear for Medicine. You can wear it, carry it, and give it.